All right. So you guys are doing a good job on this. So essentially what you guys are doing is you're taking a look at each of these people with our lesson 2 stick figure data, and you guys are identifying some different facts that we can record about each of these people. So the first slide was Dakota. I wrote down bald, but I think they're all gonna be bald. So we got somebody said tall, smart, likes to play basketball, has friends, wears Converse. Okay, those are all good. And these are all, some of these are very specific, like wears Converse, plays basketball. It's very specific. We could say he plays sports, but playing basketball is specific. Has friends. Could say he has a really old phone because I think that's a BlackBerry, and I don't think anybody uses those anymore. Yeah, but I like these. We could say he's 72 inches tall. Again, but I like the things you guys are using. They're just different ways of recording something about Dakota. Okay, and just clicking through, I see some good ones. We got plays tennis. There's the BlackBerry cell phone. Wears sandals. Okay. Another person they think's pretty smart. Looks like a well-rounded person. Okay, it's good. And we could do the same thing with Charlie. Well, we think Charlie's a little short. Well, the 34 friends is still a decent number of friends. And I guess if you're talking about social media, maybe that's not enough. Probably not. There you go. That's looking at the information and making a good estimated guess there. Probably not going to be allowed to play because of his GPA. So even though he likes baseball or plays baseball, one of the two, he might not be allowed to. Tall, soccer, Converse. Okay, nice. Good job. All right. Well, now I want to talk about now what are some different ways that we can organize this data. Okay, because now we have 4 people, and now originally there were 8 people, and I would have split you guys up into a few different groups and had you guys do this kind of in your groups, and then asked you to find a way to organize the data that you got. Okay, now instead of having you guys do that, I'm gonna present a few different ways that previous classes that have done this have organized their data. So when we look at the data, it'll look a little bit more than what you guys have gathered here because it involves 8 people instead of 4, but you will see these 4 people that we were working with. Okay, so here's a couple different ways. Here's a few different ways that the data has been organized by some people. All right, now here's a group that organized their data. They basically took all the different categories of data that they found: height, GPA, friends, sports, shoe or footwear, and they basically classified everybody either into the different areas. Like we had basketball. We would have just had basketball and tennis. Okay, but the other 4 slides had softball and soccer. Let's see, height, they wrote down their actual height and they put it in from tallest to smallest. The GPA, they went from the highest GPA down to the lowest. Friends, they went from most friends down to the least. Footwear was just split up into shoes and sandals. Okay, so this was one way that a group kind of organized the data. Here's the way another group organized it. They used a bar graph here, and for GPA, they showed each person's GPA and how high it was. Okay, and it doesn't look like they used a specific order here. They used a bar graph for friends and for heights as well. They also have a little pie chart down here showing how many people played each sport. Okay, here's a group where they classified people by over 3.0 GPA and under 3.0 GPA. And that's kind of what we were talking about before, like smart or not smart. Maybe that's where their line was 3.0. So they wanted to figure out those two groups. They got the two groups, sandals and shoes. All right, and looks like they didn't finish the friends and the height, but they got their sports. They used they plotted points here on this chart to show how many people had basketball, soccer, tennis, and baseball. I think this is the last one. And this is one that's kind of it has all of them there. It's just got all the people listed on the left side. And then it has every bit of data that they got. Looks like they've got their GPA first, their sport second, the number of friends third, footwear fourth, and their height fifth. Okay. So it kind of organizes all the data. Now, looking at all of these bits of data, okay, looking at all these bits of data, there's a lot of different ways that it's been represented. And I would say each of these ways has a benefit, okay? Not only a benefit, but it also, depending on what you need it for, may be something that isn't good, okay? So when we're looking at this data, all right, and we want to describe some similarities among the team posters, okay? They were organized in different ways, and they're similar in that a lot of times those things are organized into specific categories, okay? They're organized in specific categories, but they're different in that they're using different ways to organize them. Sometimes they're using that bar graph. Sometimes they're using just a chart. Sometimes they're using just a table to organize it. But I would say each one of them does a good job of organizing it in a unique way. And if we wanted to look at one specific bit of data, like height, then one way may be better than the other. Okay. And I'm just kind of reading through some questions here that are going to help us think about it. So what information was available about the stick figures on each card? All right, well, again, we had the person's name, the height, GPA, shoe style, sport, and number of friends on social media, okay? Now, it didn't say our number of friends on social media. I'm thinking that's probably what it is because of the number of friends that some of them had. But those are the different pieces of information that we knew about each person. Okay. Which representations made it easy to see what or who the objects were that were observed? Which representations made it easy to see whether different stick figures had different characteristics? All right. Now, just going back to the figures here, like looking at, I think this was our second one, no, first one. I would say our first one and our last one, okay, did a pretty good job of kind of giving us all the information, all right, in one place. All right. I know that the first one it breaks it up into these different groups. And what I like about the first one is it breaks it up into different groups. And for the ones that have numeric values, it made them in a specific order. It went from, I think they all went from biggest or the biggest number down to the smallest number. Excuse me. So if you were asked who's the tallest person, you could go to this data sheet and you could find them pretty quickly because you know that it's organized from tallest to shortest. All right. If we wanted to figure out who has the smallest number of friends, you could go to this list and say Charlie has 34 friends on social media, because you know it's listed in that order. Okay. So pretty good, pretty easy way of figuring out kind of numeric values when you have them in an order like this. All right. Now, if we go down to this chart, all right, I would say this one also does a pretty good job of telling us who has the highest GPA or who's the tallest person, because these bars, okay, bar graph, histogram, it goes up and you can tell which one's going to be the tallest. And I like how they put the numbers at the top as well. So I can go to the tallest bar and say, oh, this one's tallest, 72 inches, that's Dakota. Okay, pretty quickly can figure that out. All right. I also like the pie chart. If we want to know who plays the most number or which sport has the most number, they also are writing down the number in here in case it wasn't drawn exactly to scale. But it looks like there's 3 people that ended up being soccer as their sport. Okay. So that tells me soccer is going to be the most out of this group. Okay. Now, this does not tell me the information of who that person is, like who those 3 people are, but it does tell me from the group's perspective which sport was most represented. Okay. So based on these bits of data, okay, that we have here, if I gave you a blank stick figure, all right, could you then identify all of the different data that goes with the stick figure? If I said this is Hayden, all right, could you then tell me, if I gave you one of these sheets, said identify all the information that goes with Hayden? Now, I would say some of these sheets do a really good job of that. All right, this first sheet, you could definitely do that because this is very specific about what bit of data goes with each person. Okay, if we go down to the second sheet, I would say we'd be good on GPA, friends, and height, but we wouldn't know which sport goes with Hayden. All right, and we also don't have footwear on this one. This one was incomplete. I'd say we, again, it'd be similar. We know the GPA. We do know the footwear. We don't know which sport because it doesn't specify which sport. And we didn't classify the friends of the height yet on this one. I would say this one would be the easiest one because it's very well organized as far as I could go down to Hayden, and there are the 5 bits of data that go with Hayden right there. Pretty well organized. This would probably be the best sheet to go off of if we were going to do that for each of the stick figures. Okay. All right. Now, the big thing we want to get from this, and we're actually going to use some of this stick figure information again tomorrow. What the big piece I want to get is the things that we were classifying these people into, those different categories, we call those variables. All right. Variables are characteristics of an object or a person. All right. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be organizing all of these variables, all right, and putting them in forms that not only we as people can read, but also a computer can read them. All right. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using not only our own eyes and our own intuition and our own problem solving skills, but we're going to be looking at these and plugging them into a computer program. And that computer program is going to help us in determining outcomes and future outcomes based on the current data. Okay. So we're going to need to be able to identify what the different variables are with the situations that we're going to be using. All right. And how we can gather that and organize it in a way that not only we can look at it, but a way that we can put it into a computer program, and then the computer program can analyze it. Okay. And this is something we are going to be moving forward with when we get to lesson 3 tomorrow.